Hi everyone, it's Chelsea here, bringing you another segment of living in Southwest Florida. If you're thinking of moving to Fort Myers, Cape Coral, or any of the surrounding areas, then you might have checked out Cape Coral and wondered what it's really like. So today we're going to go ahead and guide you through what life here can really be like. But before we jump in, really quickly, it would mean a lot to me if you go ahead and hit that like button so the YouTube algorithms share this information with others and it lets me know what you like more of. And as a thank you, here are some videos that I shot on the 17th floor of a high-rise in Estero the other day. This gorgeous condo overlooks the Estero Bay, and the views, especially at sunset, are just stunning. And the homeowners were telling me about how fantastic 4th of July is because they can see fireworks up and down the coast. Really quickly, I wouldn't be good at my job if I didn't remind you how much we love helping people from all over the country buy and sell their homes here in Southwest Florida. So if you or anyone you know of are even thinking about moving, then feel free to use the contact info below. All right, let's jump right in. Coral is just north of Fort Myers and it's connected by multiple bridges, so it's kind of a sister city to its more recognizable counterpart. Let's take a look at it way back and then look at the city and its evolution and what we can kind of expect from here. Back in 1947, the Rosen brothers from Baltimore came down to a swamp estuary named Redfish Point, decided to dredge it up until it became dry, and then went on a worldwide whirlwind, celebrity-studded marketing spree, giving way to the phrase, "I have a swamp in Florida to sell you." And you know what? It worked. It's really fascinating study, to be honest, and I'm not going to pretend that these guys were the most honorable dudes, but they built a city. They started down in the southeast section of the city, creating the Yacht Club neighborhood. So in this part of the city, you're going to find the oldest homes available, which mostly come from the 50s and 60s. In order to get this land dry, they dredged canals and they built up the neighborhoods. This means that, one, we have lots of waterways and canals, 400 miles of them, and two, often our land on the edges of the main open water can be lower in elevation depending on when it was elevated. Not all of them, but depending on when they were built, the older homes, especially like in the area of the Yacht Club, can be lower elevations because it wasn't as high of a standard when they were building. You can find lots that have been built up more recently and they are interspersed in the older neighborhoods down there, and those usually have a higher buildup in elevation. Also, this location is going to be the most developed because that's where it's been around the longest. Being a relatively newer city, Cape Coral has the most developed in the southeast, then it goes west, and then it moves north. Currently, the current construction projects are going to be found above Pine Island Road most often, with the bulk of the new construction going up in the northeast-northwest quadrants. It's not impossible to find new homes further south, but there's just less available lots down there, so there's less of it. Okay, so this hints to two more things. One, the quadrant system, and two, how homes have been built lot by lot. See, the Rosens wanted to sell land, so they parceled the whole city out and sold it lot by lot by lot by lot. Wherever someone could throw a sack of flour from a moving plane, they could buy it. And yes, they did that. This means that Cape Coral is not laid out with many subdivisions in its past. Most homes here have been built at various times and with varying specifications. With this type of setup, even small builders can get in on the development side. So even to this day, you can find big box builders like Lennar or D.R. Horton buying individual lots to build on, or you could find a smaller builder who only puts up 3 to 5 houses a year. This means that there's a lot of variation over time in the floor plans and the availability. It also means that if you're looking for an HOA style community, then this might not be your jam. There are a few: Sandoval, Cape Harbor, which is known as a boating community, Cape Royal, which is known as a golf community, Heatherwood Lakes, Stonewater, Entrada, Coral Lakes, Bella Vita. These are the main ones. There's also some anticipated new ones in the works like Hudson Creek, which is going to be 3,500 homes when they break ground. Now, this is also going to go into our interesting grid system, which is how the layout lays. The y-axis that splits east and west can be found along Santa Barbara Boulevard, while the x-axis splitting north and south isn't as easy to see, but it basically follows Hancock Bridge Parkway until it connects to Pine Island Road, and then it turns into Embers Parkway. Also, unless it's one of the originally named streets that are most often found in the southeast, an address always tells you where it's going to be located. For example, let's take one of my listings as this example. The address 4341 Southwest 6th Avenue. The SW portion gives you the quadrant. Then the street number tells you how far away it is from the axes. In this example, the 6 tells you that 6th Street is the 6th street from Santa Barbara in the southwest quadrant. The avenue tells you that it's a north-south street because all avenues and places are running north-south and streets and terraces are running east-west. This is the time where you say, but wait, Chelsea, you said it was the 6th street over. And that's actually, well, you're right, that wasn't true. Because each number street gets doubled. So there's a 5th Avenue and a 5th Place. This is really the 11th street over from Santa Barbara. Lastly, there is one more indicator on the address, the first 2 digits of the address. This is the crossroads. So in the example 4341 Southwest 6th Avenue, it means that the north-south running street near Southwest 43rd Lane and the southwest quadrant. And finding all that can really depend on if a canal is going to be up in the middle of your way and not cut through. So always just use your GPS. So we've been able to navigate around. Now let's talk about what you're navigating to. Cape Coral is a growing city, and as such, its commercial spaces are still being built as we go. The biggest districts are going to be along Cape Coral Parkway, Del Prado Boulevard, and Pine Island Boulevard. That being said, don't be surprised as Burnstone Road also builds up. Cape Harbor has some of the area's stores and restaurants, and they are planning on doing multiple projects in the Northwest Cape with Hudson Creek and the Seven Islands projects. But if you're going to be looking to go out to eat, it's basically going to be either off Cape Coral Parkway, off Del Prado, or off Pine Island. You'll find more interspersed. I do love me some Torch Bar and Grill over off Veterans, but majority we're going to be in those areas, or you're going to be heading over to Fort Myers. In terms of things to do, well, real talk, Cape Coral is a bedroom-style community. That is a phrase for communities where they're more residential. Fort Myers are going to have twice the amount of businesses and amenities as Cape Coral will. With recent growth, though, many services like doctors, for example, which historically were all in Fort Myers, are now offering office days in Cape Coral as well. In the Cape, you're going to find everything you need for day-to-day living. It's a 2-Target sized town, so there's plenty of stores and groceries and all that jazz. But if you want history or museums or art or beaches, you're probably going to be going across the bridges. Speaking of beaches, Cape Coral is known for its boating, not for its beaches. The inlets between Pine Island and Cape Coral are mangrove estuaries, not sandy beach areas. Instead, it's great for fishing. There is one public beach in Cape Coral at the Yacht Club Rec Center, but it's going to be under renovations for the next several years. The Yacht Club beach sits on the Caloosahatchee River, and while it's a great place to hang out after work or school or catch some rays, it's not quite the same as the open Gulf beaches. What Cape Coral does do a fantastic job of is providing a parks and rec system. The community emphasizes doing life together. So there are boat parades at the holidays and a big parade for Labor Day. There's a ton of parks and a ton of events always being held for people to get involved in. There's walking trails at 4 Mile Cove or Rotary Park, and there's playgrounds throughout the entire city and boat ramps for those of you who live on dry lots. There is a big emphasis on life outdoors here. That's not going to say that there isn't culture. There are subsets really trying to gain traction, like Bell Theater and Cultural Park Theater. There are also concerts in the park, and the city will do outdoor movies, and when the weather is nice, Sunsplash Water Park is the place to hang out when it's hot during the summer. And let's face it, it's hot, super hot. This year's heat was worse than I can remember it. So if you are already here and you made it through summer, then congratulations, you made it. And you probably know that pools and beaches and Sunsplash are life around here. Through the summer, we're either in air conditioning or hanging by the water. Unless you're a little cray like me and my kids and wish you hang out outside anyway because your passion sports just happen to be outdoors. Speaking of being outside, gardeners, please take note. Your tomatoes do not go into the ground in March or April. They go in the ground in October. We have backwards calendars here because our nicer months are going to be in the winter and they won't scorch our plants. University of Florida's Ag Department has a fantastic infographics that tells you exactly when you can plant and when. Also, be prepared for our wildlife. Our city is known for its burrowing owls. These guys are the cutest and they're everywhere, which is a problem when they're in your lot because they're protected, so you must give them a 10-foot clearance. But if they aren't in your lot, and then they're just adorable and I'm obsessed with them. Every February, we even have a burrowing owl festival in their honor. We also have ibis walking through the front yards and manatees and dolphins playing in the canals and yes, even alligators. This is Florida after all. Something you definitely need to know if you're coming down here, there are snowbirds, and not the wildlife variety. Snowbirds are northern visitors who come to visit every winter, migrating down just like our feathered counterparts, spending a month or 3, and then heading back for the rest of the year. They make up a big part of the tourism here, so expect longer waits at restaurants, more difficulty finding hotels if you're trying to travel down here then, or more traffic during that time of year. It does get better once they trickle out. They start to trickle in during the fall, especially if they are already second homeowners here, but their real numbers expand just after Christmas, kind of closer to New Year's, and in sometime around Easter. Traffic has increased over the years with the popularity of the area, and it gets its most challenging during our snowbird season. I typically plan for an extra 10 minutes to take my kids to school January, February, March. My 20 to 30 minute commute to my office becomes more like 45 during season. So it is something to take into consideration. I will say though that any Florida coastal town will be experiencing this shift every year, so it's pretty typical throughout the entire state. Last thing I want to touch on is going to be real estate because for starters, it's important to take consideration that. And secondly, I'm a realtor and that's my expertise. And there's a lot of talk locally about the affordability of Cape Coral real estate. According to the National Association of Realtors, in August 2023, which is the most recent data provided, the median sales price for a home was $407,100. That's nationally. Here in Cape Coral, the median sales price for a home was $390,000. In other words, Cape Coral is completely realistic in relation to the rest of the country. It has gone up significantly from where it used to be. Absolutely. But it is not out of trend as many people may have you believe. Also, something to consider, the national statistic is taking into account all existing home sales for condos and single-family homes. Here in the Cape, the stat I'm using is for both as well. However, there's not a significant condo offering here. Less than 10% of homes are condos in the Cape Coral area. In fact, of the 489 homes sold in Cape Coral in August, 460 of those were single-family homes. And many of those were also new construction, which can be more expensive. So as you can see, it still can be considered affordable. All right, before we wrap this up, please let me know in the comments if you think I forgot something to mention. I do have a brand new 96-page beautiful guide to moving to Fort Myers and moving to all of Lee County that has been a huge labor of love for me. So if you'd like your own copy, then there is a link on my link tree below. And if you have any questions about the data, or if you'd like to drill down and compare specific neighborhoods like say Cape Coral versus Fort Myers or waterfront homes or pool homes or whatever it is that your specific circumstances call for, then feel free to reach out at the contact information in the description below. Myself and the network of agents I have throughout the United States are here and we're ready to help you with your move. My videos sometimes can be erratic in dropping them, so if you'd like more videos like this, then don't forget to hit subscribe, and that way you'll be notified when we drop another one. If you're ready to go ahead and get that ball rolling on your move to Southwest Florida, then there is a link in the description below to set up a personalized home search that'll be tailored to you. Oftentimes when you search on web aggregates, it limits your capabilities. But when I build out this search, you're gonna have many more options available and we can begin having a conversation on what your home in Florida will look like. Also, you can also use Cape Coral Fort Myers realestate.com for all the latest listings to hit the market and begin getting comfortable with our marketplace. There's no obligations to buy anything. Strictly informational if you want it to be. And don't forget to add me on social media and follow along as we post weekly, daily articles and information that you may find handy and give you insight as to what life in Florida really looks like. We drop things all the time. As always, we really appreciate it when you leave us a comment and hit that like button, subscribe button, and notification bells so that you can be notified when we drop future videos that may help you with living in Southwest Florida. Thanks so much for watching. Until next time, I wish you much health and happiness.